I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but we have something serious to discuss today. Stay safe, everyone, because we're witnessing a massive car crash in the market right now. What caused the sudden downfall? And more importantly, how will it affect you? The global pandemic that broke out at the start of 2020 has seriously altered the planet. Moreover, demand caused many products to become scarce, making them difficult to find. The pandemic also affected the auto industry. It's critical to comprehend why this happened. There are so many causes, but the main reason is the chip shortage. And since it stopped the production of new automobiles, it resulted in the price rise of used cars. Naturally, the COVID-19 outbreak was the cause of this chip scarcity, and the subsequent Russian invasion of Ukraine hasn't made things any better. We know that time can heal everything, hence the difficulties won't last forever, and certain areas of life have improved with relief. It doesn't mean the world hasn't been altered instantly, but perhaps some solace is on the horizon. Understanding the underlying factors that led to the surge in the car industry will let us monitor changes and forecast an advantageous change for potential purchases. Is this chip shortage still a problem for the automotive industry? JP Morgan reported that it was not and reported a global automotive sales rise of 3%. So what do you think? Will sales rise as reported, or is it just a myth? There was a 100% guarantee that a recession would hit in 2020, and orders to shelves in place were common because of the viral outbreak. Simply, people weren't traveling around much, so they didn't need cars. Moreover, a large number of people were working from home or weren't even working. High petrol prices and credit lending troubles weren't a problem, unlike the Great Recession from 2007 to 2009. Nevertheless, between March 15th and April 4th of 2020, 16.8 million new unemployment applications were made. Automobiles was difficult due to the lack of desire to travel frequently for millions of unemployed people. Moreover, dealerships were providing 0% interest loans for 84 months, which is certainly an astronomical time. But these conditions were required to close deals. New purchasers could choose from substantial purchase and lease packages. Hence, dealers will take every measure necessary to preserve their existence, whether a recession exists. So despite the barricade, even though the store wasn't physically open for business, it was still feasible to process sales. However, with all the uncertain factors, purchasing a car did not seem to be a top priority during the pandemic. Despite the cheap petrol prices, which in some areas were less than $1 per gallon, one would undoubtedly need to have the means. All this led to dealer stock or days supply exceeding 90 days, while the typical value is in the low 60s. One would assume that sales would be unaffected by having such goods in a dealer's control, but it is evident that the situation is due to special conditions brought on by the epidemic, which created complicated difficulties. Car prices, like many other consumer goods, have increased significantly in recent months. J.D. Power estimates indicate that in January 2023, the average cost of a new car in the US increased by 4.2% over the previous year. The situation is making owning a car more expensive and slowing down auto sales with combined rising petrol prices and borrowing rates. Moreover, due to the problems with the global supply chain and production delays in the auto sector, car costs will increase sharply in 2022. While the supply of semiconductors is anticipated to increase in 2023, new automobile prices will stay high due to inflationary input costs. According to data from J.D. Power, Americans spent an average of $46,437 on a new car in January 2023, a 4.2% rise over the previous year. The data represents an all-time high for January and shows that the record prices from 2022 are not going down. Ryan Brinkman, lead automotive equity research analyst at JP Morgan, said, "We estimate that the passing forward of higher input costs accounts for around half of the increase in new car prices. There is still significant inflation bubbling up in the supply chain for new vehicles. Although raw materials are declining, suppliers must pass on to automakers several other rising non-commodity costs, such as diesel, freight, shipping, logistics, labor, and electricity. The shortage of new cars has fueled demand for used cars, causing prices to surge. Inflationary pressures have also trickled down into the used car market, where average prices continued to track at around 30% above pre-pandemic levels. Brinkman said used vehicle prices and new vehicle prices exist in a feedback loop. Fewer new vehicles on the road mean fewer second-hand vehicles to trade in, straining used car inventories. And like new vehicles, used cars are also sensitive to changes in commodity prices, as they affect their scrap value. So can we expect a price drop for new cars in 2023? According to the estimates, car prices are expected to drop by 10% for used cars and roughly 5% for new cars. So if you're waiting to buy a brand new BMW, stay patient for a few more months. You will get a discount. Although new automobile costs hit a record high in December 2022 and will likely stay above pre-pandemic levels, this year's prices will be slightly lower. As supply limitations loosen and manufacturers increase the production of low-end models with fewer high-end features, we predict that the average transaction price of a new car in the US will fall by 2.5 to 5% annually in 2023. According to Brinkman, in contrast to the previous years, when the preference was for producing high-end vehicles, this represents a more regular mix. Additionally, dropping prices for synthetic rubber, cold-rolled steel, and stainless steel are the main reasons commodity costs are often tracking lower than anticipated. Costs may be, on average, 24% lower in 2023 compared to 2022, according to JP Morgan's research weighted index of the commodities. Moreover, according to the most recent spot prices, the auto industry will see a larger full-year tailwind in 2023, according to Brinkman. Lower-end vehicle prices might not, however, result in greater demand, particularly in light of recent increases in borrowing rates. J.D. Power's data shows that the average interest rate for a new car loan increased by 264 basis points to 6.79% in January 2023. Given that a 100% basis point increase in interest rates equates to an additional $20 in monthly cost for the typical $45,000 72-month loan, Brinkman remarked that 80% of Americans who finance or lease their vehicle may not experience any relief. This may counteract the efforts of decreasing automobile pricing. Do you guys prefer buying a new car or a used one? Well, even though a new one is good to show off, a used one is cheaper and roughly gives the specs of a new one. So if you are planning to have a car, as a suggestion, you should move on with the used one. Prices for used cars are already beginning to decline as the market shows down after appearing to peak earlier in 2022. Up in new vehicle production and the ensuing dealer inventory buildup towards normalized levels, according to Brinkman, are likely to be the main drivers of used car pricing reversion, except a short-term consumer downturn. How is inflation going to affect car prices? JP Morgan research projects that the seasonally adjusted annual rate of US light vehicle sales will be between 14 and 14.5 million in 2023, which is a slight increase from 13.9 million in 2022, but still well below the 17 million pre-pandemic vehicles that were sold in 2019. However, demand is being destroyed. Brinkman states, "We continue to believe that record new vehicle prices, declining used vehicle trade-in values, and higher interest rates are impeding the ability of consumers to purchase cars." According to predictions made by software provider Cox Automotive, used cars are likely to decline by an additional 1% in 2023. Furthermore, he said, this is driven by the high prices and historically poor selection that have plagued the industry, but is now probably also joined by declining demand. Consumer mood suffers from a worsening macro outlook, preventing potential purchasers from entering the market. Overall, the pandemic and its effects will continue to cause the auto sector to have a lower volume and a higher price. The path to rehabilitation might not be as straightforward and as quick as previously believed. He concluded that there is still potential for growth in pricing and the volume environment. As we wrap up our discussion on the car market crash, I'm sure you have many thoughts and questions. What do you think about this development? Are you worried about what this could mean for you and your car-owning plans? Don't hold back. Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. If you found the video informative, give it a thumbs up, share it with your friends, and subscribe to the channel. Remember, staying informed is the best way to navigate these uncertain times. Stay tuned to our channel, where we keep you updated with the latest and most accurate news. Until next time.